right, let's just take a few minutes and talk about narrow Pfats. Sometimes they can be avoided, but sometimes they can't. I realize that, but let's just focus on the times that narrows can be avoided. So if we look at a ribeye, and yes, I know it's a ribeye, but bear with me. If we look at a ribeye and you kind of think about how you collect your Pfats versus how you collect your ribeyes, your Pfats are essentially perpendicular to that ribeye image, right? So essentially what you're doing is you go on towards the midline, maybe a little high, and when you go on a little bit high, what you see here at this dotted line is probably what you're going to see in the Pfat image. You're going to see hide, and then fat, and then acorn or spinalis across the top of the screen. And as you slide down, that acorn is going to get smaller at the top of your Pfat screen until it goes away. And when the acorn goes away and you stop and you fix your rib tops and so forth, that's where you're going to have the most depth and get a high quality image without the acorn or the spinalis in it. But sometimes what happens is technicians will keep going, and when they keep going, you end up getting in a very narrow part of the ribeye. So I'm just kind of showing this concept of the ribeye, taking the Pfats, and we'll just kind of talk through a little bit. But when we collect it in the sweet spot, that right past the acorn depth, we end up with an image like this. We've got top fat line, bottom fat line, rib tops. The texture looks good. When we process this image, when we place the box and process it, we can feel pretty good about the data. Now, an image that's too narrow to process or narrow rejected simply means the box won't fit between the rib tops and the fat lines. And we can't process an image like that. The data would not be accurate. So here we've got our good image on the left and our too narrow image on the right. And these are canned images, but they are from the same animal. So we were canning them for something else. I don't remember what it was now. But here's a properly collected image, and here's one that's too narrow. Same animal. Now, what I would like to do is focus in on this image that's too narrow. And if we look at the Pfat image and we see the 13th rib and the 12th rib, right in between there is where we're going to collect our ribeyes. So in theory, the depth at this point between the 12th and the 13th rib from the fat line to the intercostals is going to be the depth of our ribeye image. So if we take this line, this between the fat layers and the intercostals, we take this line and we go back over here to our ribeye image. Remember, ideally we're going to be right in here somewhere for our Pfats, but let's watch how low we're going. So pulling the probe down more, till probably right in here somewhere is where the narrow Pfats were collected. So as you can see, much narrower part of the ribeye, and that's a narrow that could be avoided simply by starting up higher and trying to end right past the acorn. And when we end right past the acorn, remember we get an image that is pretty easy to interpret and looks good. So, thanks for listening, and let me know if you have any questions.